First off, thoughts and prayers go out to the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, our condolences. That's sad. We're thinking about them. I text back and forth with Shoddy, and that's a tough deal. Okay, so with that, on to the game here. Health-wise, Will Johnson is not going to make it. Mac Wilson is not going to make it. And Max Melton is not going to make it. And then I think everybody, you guys will get the report today. I think everybody else. And then BJ will not be activated. So we got to have a good day today. And then we're traveling tomorrow. Let it rip on Sunday.
You've coached so many young defensive backs in your career. When they come in the league, what is the biggest thing that they have to learn when they get to this league compared to what college is? Is it the physicalness of the receivers? Is there any one particular thing that could be eye-opening for these guys that maybe they weren't ready for?
That's a good question, Darren. That would be a real long answer. You know, if I had to say one thing, how accurately passes are delivered. That's what I would say. It doesn't necessarily, go to them. It goes to like how fast the ball gets on them and how accurate passes are thrown. That's what I would say.
What's going on with Will Johnson?
He's got I'm not going to get into injury specifics. He's not healthy enough to play. He's got like a hip, contusion, glute deal going on. We just walked through on Wednesday, and he honestly didn't do as well as I thought. We knew he was sore coming out of the game on a Monday night. So then we had Tuesday, and he got treated, and then Wednesday he struggled to kind of walk through, so we had to do some digging, and he's got a little bit of a nick.
You guys sorting out who's going to be wearing the green dot come Sunday?
No, Cody will wear it. And Akeem will be a really good caddy for him.
What goes into that for a rookie linebacker to be prepared to step into that role mentally as much as physically?
Yeah, you just got to do it. We train them, obviously. That's why Nick trains all those guys to wear the green dot, from the moment we start on the practice field in spring to training camp. That's why we pair them with each other differently, in preseason games and things. We've talked about that. But he's done it in practice. Obviously, he did it to finish the game, which was good. But he's got to handle it, and he's done a good job in practice. And I'm not worried about it, honestly. There's a lot of guys communicating with him, but he's got to get the call and then give it to everybody. But he'll be fine.
How did he operate with it last week?
Well, very well. Very well. Zaven helped him out once. No, that was Mac in. That was Mac. We didn't get a call in one time. Zaven made the call, but he did well.
Denzel was talking about how he knows he's a rookie, so he's going to get picked on a little bit. Like, how do you find that balance between you want to be tested, but you also want to have that respect of being in that shutdown corner?
They throw the ball at the top 3 shutdown corners in the league, so I don't really I don't know. I think that's a little bit of a inflated misnomer. When the ball comes to you, you got to make the play, And then if you don't make the play, get back in the huddle and make the next one. That's the psychology I want them to have.
Do you envision the running back room looking kind of like it did last week?
Yeah, we'll see. Similar but not the same. Similar but not the same. Similar but different. Maybe a little bit different.
Will be the first one out there?
I'm not sure of that right now.
We hear so often about how division games are.
Seriously, I haven't talked to Drew about it yet.
Division games are
Donnie?
tougher just because of the familiarity aspect. You've already played Seattle once this year. I'm curious, with Jacoby being the starter compared to Kyler last time, how similar and how different is game planning going to be?
Well, coming off a short, that was a short week with no practice. What was that, week 4? It will be different just because of where we're at in the season and the practice week, even though this was a short week too, but not like a Thursday night game, you know. And then I think, you know, we've evolved a little bit, you know, when we hit the mini bye after that Seattle game. And then we evolved even then probably a little bit at the bye, so be a little bit different. But at the end of the day, we got to block, we got to run, we got to catch, we got to throw, we got to play smart with mode of play. This is a really good defense.
All the tweaks that you guys made during the bye, were you pleased with how they panned out in the game on Monday?
Take the result out of it, yes. Like, I'm not pleased because we won. I'm pleased with that we won, but I'm not that, like, I was looking for things in practice and then to show up in the game. And I thought we took a jump as a team.
Can you give us one or two things now that's in the past?
Backside of the run game for the O-line. Pad level at the top of routes for the receivers. How we run in shallows with the tight ends, like running backs one-on-one pass pro, you know. Defensive line playing a slip block. Having our rush angle efficiency become better, greater. Corners, make sure we're aligned right when we go from press to off. When they condense the set, we weren't right. Safeties, on-snap footwork, linebackers, pattern match, tackling, edge guys, posture at the point of contact. Trying to think who else. Kicker and punter didn't really have anything. Quarterback, accelerated vision on three-man concepts. Throw it down the field or get it out of your hand. You know, things like that.
Amari was telling us the other day that he wasn't good in pass pro, his words, in college.
Amari said
Yeah.
that? He's really freaking good now.
What goes into kind of becoming good at pass pro?
Yeah, technique. First, I would say is want to. Like, I hate to use the word toughness, but you got to stick your face in there, and he does. Technique, that's a huge thing. How you're blocking certain guys from where you're located to where you're making contact to how you're making contact to the angle that you're making contact. And I would say where it starts with is playing fast and knowing exactly who you have to pick up, which I think that honestly is probably the first reason that guys fail out of it. They don't know when it's, you know, Mike Sort, jet, 4-jet, 2-jet, 7-man, swirl, Jupiter, Pluto. Who do I have? Where do my eyes go? What happens if this guy drops? Then I got to transfer my eyes to this guy. All right, these two guys are in the bubble. I have one of the two, but then I got to get to an edge if there's edge pressure. Like, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. So it's not that guys, most running backs that carry the football in the NFL, in my opinion, are pretty tough because they get hit for a living. So check that box. Technique, if they want to do it and they want to play, they'll probably get better at the technique. The thing that separates them is their brain. And Amari does a really good job at it.
He not only said he was not good in college, but when we asked him how he got good now, he basically said he wasn't sure. I guess Autry taught him. I'm just curious, is like, does that surprise you that somebody would be like, okay, I think he knows he's good at it. It just he doesn't
That's why he's
see-
out there. I mean, you know, if you think back when he was a rookie, he was out there, you know. Yeah, he got coached. Yeah, Autry, yeah, absolutely. You know, he got coached up, but and nobody's perfect, you know. I thought truthfully, you know, not to knock any of our other guys, but we missed him in the Green Bay game because they were thinning us out to take chips off their edge rushers. They were interior pressuring. So you're eating the chip now when you bring interior pressure away from the center slide. That was a good job by Halfley. And I didn't think we got on the right people. We weren't as firm as Amari typically is, you know. So why didn't you guys chip Parsons? Well, we were chipping Parsons until they ripped 6 at you, and you can't chip Parsons. That's looking in the past, but you watch the tape, Teo. You know what's going on. Go ahead.
Is all that stuff that
Now you guys have got me hot.
all the stuff that you said, like that pass pro needs to watch? Is that all stuff they learned on tape, I'm assuming?
There's a lot of ways to learn that. The playbook, tape, walkthrough, full speed. Just like how anybody learns. You need to use all the tools available to you, but it's real. It's not easy.
Marvin mentioned his struggles earlier this year. From the first game against Seattle to now, where has he grown? Where has he improved? Where's his confidence level now versus maybe then?
I mean, you can ask him. I think they're higher. I know they're higher. He's, in my opinion, he's playing extremely fast, violent, and aggressive, and he's making a lot of plays. So he's only going to continue to get better. You know, I feel about that with all players. You know, it's not, premium players, role players, good players, bad players. Typically, coaches, teams, like it's a long season. You're going to go through some valleys and some peaks and some adversity, and you're going to, some of our guys, like to the naked eye, you might not point it out or think about it, but certain games you're not going to play to your level all the time. There are guys that do that, not many, in my opinion. But it's just to keep at it and keep fighting and keep battling and trying to keep improve every day. And that's what he's done.
You mentioned earlier this week that you thought it would benefit the team to have clarity at the quarterback position and not have that uncertainty throughout the week. How have you seen that kind of help this week?
I think there's a lot of communication now with Jacoby because he is the starter with how we're doing things. That's where I see my benefit the most. And not that Kyler wasn't doing that. It was just, who am I talking to if I'm Marv, which I understand that. So I think that's been good, just the communication piece this week leading up to the game. And we got a long way to go.
Jacoby's familiarity with the offense and Drew and Izzy is closest with them. That kind of helped speed up the process now for him as a starter coming into this.
I mean, no, I just think it sped up the process when he came in here, a spring of operating at a high level, honestly.
For people who've never been on a sideline in Seattle, can you just talk about how loud and chaotic it can be?
It's loud and chaotic. That's a good. I think it's a great venue. I really do. Right on the water, right there. I think it's pretty cool. But it's one of the better road venues, in my opinion.
Kind of a random, maybe long-winded question, but it seemed like 4 or 5 years ago, to be a true Super Bowl contender type of team, you had to have like a superhuman type of quarterback. And now we're seeing so many teams across the league have guys that maybe in their third or fourth stop and making it work to be that level of team. Is there something that you're seeing that is enabling? It seems like almost the offensive system, right? The pieces around them matter more than they did 4 or 5 years ago. Is there something that you're seeing that is making kind of that recipe, that playbook succeed?
I don't know, man. You're more versed than me on that one, Teo. I think it's the ultimate team game. So the best teams win, and they make the push. Need the ball to bounce your way a little bit. You need everyone to star their role. Go from there.